Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I'm Peter, that is Tim, and we talk about horror movies on this show. And in this episode, we are talking about a French film called Raw. Yeah, French. We're getting artsy fartsy this episode. This is a movie about a girl named Justine who goes to vet college, vet university, and she's a vegetarian, but she gets a taste for meat, and cannibalistic urges begin to manifest as she struggles with the first year lifestyle of a university student. And that's the movie. That's it. Tim, I know it was quick. I know that was a real quick description, but
you got to the meat of it. What?
That was terrible. That was terrible. Expect a lot of meat puns. I feel like there's going to be a lot of them in this episode. Oh dear. Tim.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy Raw?
I did. I liked it quite a bit. Not super horrific. If anything, I would almost classify it maybe more as like a dark comedy. There's definitely horror elements, into it, but I thought for a lot of it, it was funny. It was also weird, and had like a pretty cool, interesting story. Some really good effects. I find that this happens a lot with me in French horror films, but there's something about them. They really know like how to make me squirm. Like all the gore stuff really makes me go like ugh.
Which, by the way, actually, just before we go any further, I forgot to say we'll start this spoiler free, and I'll give you a warning before we go into spoilers about halfway through. So just so you don't have to worry about that. I agree. I was cringing and kind of looking away from the screen more in this than I do in most horror movies. There was a couple of moments that were really making me cringe. A lot of that's maybe sound effects and good kind of just the direction of the moments, is a bit on top of the fact that what's happening is also just disgusting.
Yeah.
But that's kind of it. Yeah, it's very much a melding of genres. There is definitely horror, and there is a sort of foreboding tone throughout this building. You feel like, oh, this is going to end badly. Like you kind of this has that feeling to it. But at the same time, it is kind of a coming of age teen, not drama, but that's not quite right. But it's got elements of that. It's got elements of the black comedy, and it all kind of merges together. And how successful is that? Well, I guess we'll be talking about that as we go. But that's kind of it. I think my first thought actually is I like the pacing in the movie. It's got a very sort of down to earth pacing where it has a lot of quiet moments, and everything's kind of through the lens of our main character Justine. Like everything's kind of from her perspective, and the movie sets up right away that she's a vegetarian, which of course you get. Oh, it's going to be kind of like ironic when she starts wanting meat.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, and it goes from there.
And I actually liked Justine quite a bit. I thought she's a very likable main character. She's a little weird, but she never felt like super crazy.
Yeah, she's weird, but she also felt relatable. Maybe it's because I'm me, but the fact that she didn't seem to be into all these stupid college hazing bollock pranks.
Yeah, she's really in like obviously she ends up doing some messed up stuff, but you kind of see where she comes from because she's really pushed in this. Like, it's not like things are going easy on her. Like she's in this really strangely hostile environment. Like I never thought veterinary school would be this rowdy.
Yeah, I want no part of this. I right from like the first. This isn't a spoiler, but right the first sort of thing that happens when she gets to the and she's in the dorms, is that some of the senior students come in and like throw out their mattresses out the window, and I'm like, if someone woke me up and did that to me, I would seriously lunge for them. Like,
but that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Like I know that these are the elder students and whatever, and they have seniority, but like you're telling me there wasn't at least a couple of people that were like super alarmed and like gonna be like, oh no, I'm not gonna take this, and like
grab the
be
bat.
like some
grab the baseball bat and whack the shit out of the student. Yeah. I
also
feel...
is there like no like authority in the school whatsoever? Like there's no like headmaster that like hazing and everything, that's one thing, but this is like it seemed like a riot.
They felt like terrorists. They had black balaclavas on. It felt like masked men coming in and like tormenting people. It was super over the top. But she's kind of a loner and she's kind of weird and doesn't talk to a lot of people, and so she's very relatable in that sense. She's kind of a loner character, and maybe that's not relatable to everyone, but it very much you feel like she's in a hostile environment and everyone else around her is kind of intimidating, and you're put in her headspace and you kind of feel like that all the way through as the movie goes. And when I start talking about the themes of the movie and what I think it is doing, and and mostly successfully as well. I'll get to that more in spoilers, but so that's the whole thing. The actual, the actual disgusting moments when we get to them are proper disgusting, for a lot of different reasons. It plays with a lot of I think it kept playing with my expectations. I kept expecting it to go full something. I don't want to spoil it, but I kept expecting it to go full certain type of movie, and it never did. It always subverted and went a different way, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
I thought it did really good jobs of the build up, to those gore scenes, because I wouldn't say there's ever really, any instances where you're completely surprised. Like a lot of the times you'd see it coming, but it still felt satisfying. Like it was like, at the one hand you're kind of like, oh no, don't do that, but then at the same time you looking at the screen, you don't really want to turn away.
No, I agree. I apologize for my yawning. We're recording 3 movies back to back. I mentioned that in the last one. I'll mention it again. One of the elements that I really appreciated actually is music, because the movie has a lot of silence. There's a lot of moments where it's just the silence and the loneliness of what she's feeling, and there'll be music like if there's a source, because there's a scene earlier when she's at a party, and you hear the music at the party, obviously, and that adds a lot to the scene. But actual score doesn't come in till much later. It's not until we get to like the real, the meat of the movie that the music starts to kick in.
It's okay.
Yeah, but I did that self-aware. Like I didn't want to, but it was where I was getting to, and I like that. I like because when the music kicked in, it felt important because we hadn't really heard any music like that, like score up until that point, and it felt like we're hitting a big turning point for the movie. So it utilized that quite well. I thought it is definitely a slow movie though. I feel like if you don't like slow burns, this might be a movie that you find kind of dull or boring.
It's a little slow, but I never felt like it dragged. Like it's not super long or anything.
Oh no, I like a slow burn, and like we said, it really puts you in the main character's head, which I think is what makes all the slow burn really effective. Is because you feel like you're in the moment with her. You feel like you're in the moment, in those awkward, tense moments, in those moments where she's sort of hungry, or whatever. And then genuinely times when you kind of laugh and whatever, but I recommend it. I liked it as well. I think it was amazing, but I did like it quite a bit, so I would recommend checking it out. So I think with that we will go into spoilers. Go into full spoiler. I want to talk about what the movie's about, because I've kind of glossed over it for the sake of spoilers. So full spoilers from this point on.
Yeah.
So what I think works really well about this movie is that the entire thing's kind of a heightened reality, a kind of a metaphor for growing up, perhaps specifically growing up as a woman as opposed to being a man. Mainly that she goes into this hostile environment and it's very awful, and to survive it she has to become more of an animal herself, and the cannibalism, the lust for meat is just like a movie metaphor for that. Because even throughout the movie, as this is happening, she does get more confident. She puts on her sister's dress and she listens to the song that the lyrics were very specific. It was
I bang the dead.
Yeah, it was all about being sexy and all about being sexually active. That was the whole song, as she was dancing in front of the mirror. But even just the way she was dancing in front of the mirror, we'd never seen her move that way until then. Like earlier on in the film, she's always walking kind of frigidly. When she has to walk in high heels, she can't, and she's sort of stumbling over. But here she's like, very sort of slowly and seductively dancing in front of the mirror. You tell there's been a transformation. It's almost like a werewolf movie, and I say that because she doesn't turn into anything, but she keeps not remembering things. Like if something does happen, she kind of wakes up and she's not really sure what happened, and it tends to just because she was drunk or whatever. Like it's never anything otherworldly. but it kind of gives that same effect of a werewolf movie, whereas someone's been a werewolf for like a night and they've not remembered it, and it has that kind of vibe, and also the lust for meat and blood kind of ties into that.
Yeah, I definitely got that. The way I was kind of looking at it is, pretty similar. I almost felt like it was there's almost like a sexual metaphor in it, where like women are, they're kind of in this like shitty position where, if you're kind of introverted and not really like outgoing and stuff, and not wanting to go to parties, you're seen as a prude. But then if she does, engage in that stuff, then she's seen as like an animal. Like, she's not even like, it's almost like saying like, oh, well, then you're a slut. Like,
because it's brought up a lot. It's because when she first there, because basically the cause for the movie is all the newbies or all the freshmen are all made to eat something disgusting. They're all made to it's like a part of a sheep kidney or something. I don't know. I can't remember.
It's a raw rabbit kidney.
Rabbit kidney. And she doesn't want to because she's a vegetarian, but her sister forces her anyway.
Yeah.
And she gets food poisoning.
I think she's eaten like, just veggies her whole life.
Yeah. And her body can't handle it. And she gets this outbreak in her rash, and she goes to the doctors, and the doctor asks her, oh, are you on the pill? When was your last period? Oh, you're not on the pill, do you use condoms? And she's just like, oh, I'm not doing any of that. And she's like, oh, fair enough. But the fact that was brought up, it's constantly referred to. Like when she's at the party, there's a moment where a guy with a camera says to a bunch of girls who's taking photos, like, oh, get slutty girls, and then like a couple of them lift up the tops. And it's definitely bringing those things into the movie, and it's saying, oh, this is part of it. This is part of this whole process. The fact that she wears, she wears normal jeans and like a top. It's just very sort of normal clothes until later on, when she does put on the dress and she dances in front of the mirror and she does more of this act where she is becoming an animal to survive.
And then like and then it gets like just really blatant, like, by the end, while her and her sister are fighting and people come with like leashes and
they're literally holding them both around the neck with it's actually like shirts or something like that. It's like, but it's like they're both holding back by leashes. And that's the other thing, is that over the course of the movie we learn that her sister's already kind of like this, maybe not with the cannibalism specifically, but she's clearly messed up. She is not natural. But once the cannibalism does come into it, she also seems to have a taste, which is where you start thinking, wait, is this a family thing? Like, do they have a taste for it? And the ending, of course, confirms that one way or the other. But at that point, I don't even think it matters so much. The idea that the sister, if you're going with the metaphor, she's already went through this transformation, and because right from the start she seems so different, and she seems like there's that scene where she shows her sister that she can pee standing up, and she's really proud of that fact. But she's really moody, she's really argumentative, and like we say, everyone is hostile towards Justine. Everyone around her is so hostile, and the idea that she's left home, she's off to college, she's out in the wild, so now she has to become an animal to survive.
And then like even when she's doing what you'd think someone should do, it's like she gets in trouble for it. Like that scene with her and her professor, where he's telling her, I don't like top students, and I don't think, you make other students feel bad and stuff. It's like, oh, like she can't even be a smart,
is
woman.
Is this a French thing where the lecturers actually dislike the smart kids?
I don't know. I wonder how much, like, there was little stuff like that throughout the movie that I thought was kind of weird, and I did wonder, if this was supposed to be played up for a comedic factor or if it was like a cultural difference.
Joe, I liked how, because they were in a vet school, every so often there'd be just a really weird setting for a scene. Like at one point, Justine came in to talk to her sister Alexia, and Alexia's hand was just in a cow's ass. Like she was in a cow's ass. That's just where her hand was. And that was pretty funny. So obviously she gets a taste for meat. She's starting to the point where she steals a hamburger out of like, the cafeteria. And because we not even mention her roommate Adrian. She's surprised she's got him as a roommate at first, because she asked for a girl, and he mentions he's gay, and to the people running this place it's the same thing. And even that, you could sort of like, what was that saying about gender roles and how people are treated? But he notices this, and he's kind of friendly with her, and it's funny because even he, as much as he is very friendly with her, he constantly is kind of also an obstacle when she's trying to like pick her mattress back up the stairs to go back up to bed. And she opens the door, and he's like with a boy, with a boyfriend or whatever. and they're having sex, or blowjob specifically at the time, and it's really awkward for her, and she has to. It's like, and again, it's like she's not used to this. Like much like the meat, she's not engaged in sexual activity. So both things are like really, oh my god, alien to her, and really kind of. So fascinating stuff there, but. So he helps her. They go for food, and even he has that really weird moment where that trucker guy comes up when they're eating the shawarma. And the trucker comes up, and he just like sort of makes small talk about, don't they feed you down there at the vets? And he's making small talk, and and if you didn't see the other thing he was doing, it might seem friendly, but he's actually like stroking Adrian's head and ear, like behind his neck, the entire time, and it is super creepy. It's oof.
That's really strange. I kept thinking if that was going to lead somewhere, like if I don't know, if the trucker was trying to give him like some type of signal, like he was inviting him, to something. I
think the point of the scene is that being gay, even though like how would this guy even know? I mean, like, is it that obvious? I mean, I don't know if it's that obvious. My gaydar is not functioning to peak efficiency, but like. Is this showing that like there are some things that the gay guys do then have to put up with, like girls do, like because when he first walks up, I think he's going to be creepy to her. I think he's going to be pervy to her, and then he's pervy to him. It actually kind of subverts your expectations.
And that would kind of like fit in with the themes if we're looking at this idea of this woman basically kind of being treated like an animal, and the same thing goes for this gay guy where you have this older guy who basically is seeing him as the same thing as
a piece of
an
meat.
animal, just piece of meat, perfect.
So the thirst is going. We see her like sneak into the fridge at night, and she eats. I think it's raw chicken actually. She bakes like raw. And I'm like, look, carnivore or not, that's dangerous. Like you get poisoning for that. Like salmonella is a serious issue. But we see her do that. We see her like chow down like seriously on various things. And then she's actually finally bonds with her sister a little bit, and her sister's like, "Oh wait, you've never like I had like a Brazilian by the time I was your age," and she's like, "Oh, I'm going to wax you," and this actually might be the most disgusting scene in the entire movie, even though it's before we get to the gore. So basically, I mean, I thought it was just a little bit weird that they were doing this together. They're very close, these sisters, aren't they? But she lies in the bed and like she sort of spreads her legs. Kind of against her will as well. Like Justine's not really wanting to be waxed, but Alexia's not accepting no for an answer. So she puts her down, spreads her legs, and she's still got her underwear on. And basically, what she's doing is she's just going outside the underwear, right? So there's like, so first of all, this is just weird. Like, I feel like very rarely when you're watching a movie, you get a shot of like someone's underwear and there's like pubes coming out the side of it. Like, how often do you see that in a movie? Don't get me wrong, very realistic, absolutely.
Sure, yeah.
But it's not a sort of thing you see in a movie very often. And she like puts some wax on it, and then she like pulls it off, and like Justine's like, "Oh, it's so sore," and that was fine. That was normal. Then she puts it on the other side, and then she goes to pull it. It's like, "Oh, it's not quite coming." And then you get this close up where the wax is stuck to the skin, and she keeps trying to pull it, and it's pulling at the skin, and she does it like 3 times, and I swear, like I was like, and I'm a hairy. Look at my arms. Like I'm a hairy dude. The thought of that anywhere on my body makes me squirm. I want no part of this.
Like I don't know anything about waxing, and I was watching this with my girlfriend, and I just turned to her, and I was like, "Can it get stuck sometimes?" And she just looked at me, she's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh."
And I'm like, I appreciate the sacrifice, but you know what? I will accept, ladies. I will totally accept if you just want to shave from now on. I get it. I get it. I'll accept it. It's fine. But she gets scissors, because that's what I was thinking. I get some scissors and just trim the hairs that it's stuck to and get it off that way. And she does that, and then but Justine kind of resists, and then she kind of kicks back and I'm like, oh my god, something's just happened with those scissors. I thought her sister might be dead. Actually, I thought it was just because I thought the scissors might be in her neck or something like that. Or
I thought she was gonna turn her head and they'd be sticking out, her forehead or something.
But her hand comes up and she's like missing, like her middle finger's been cut off. Which, by the way, that's a strong pair of scissors to cut through the bone. Good pair.
Yeah, because I don't know how she would have hit her, but like, assuming she probably hit her and her hand kind of went like that, but you don't think that she would be cutting with full force, like if you get surprised, you think you kind of go limp and the stuff would just fall.
Maybe.
But,
Yeah, you'd be bleeding, but you wouldn't have cut it off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, but basically, she passes out, and Justine calls for help, and then she squeezes the finger and licks a little bit of blood out of it. And I'm like, oh my god, she's gonna eat the finger, and she's gonna eat it. This is where she properly turns cannibal. And
what's funny is I actually thought the dog was gonna eat it at first because the dog's walking around. And I was like, oh no, the dog's gonna eat it.
It's almost like she gets that. Well, I was thinking that's gonna be the alibi, which it ended up being kind of. It just wasn't her to give the alibi. It was Alexia. But see, when she starts eating it, and that's when the music kicks in. That's what I was talking about. When it gets to what the movie's about, is when the music. It's like she finally is becoming the animal she is. So the music starts kicking in, and it was like a really big moment. It was also disgusting. Seeing someone like bite bits off a finger is actually kind of icky. Because it feels very realistic the way it's portrayed in this.
Yeah, I think that's what makes the gore and everything so squeamish. Is you're not talking about some dude in a mask with like a giant over the top weapon that's just cutting heads off, like something like it's unrealistic. It doesn't really affect you. But yeah, this stuff, there's always like a sense of realism to it, like a brutal reality, and it just made it really gross. And I kept thinking with the finger, you probably can't even get that much meat off it. Like most of that's got to be bone, I imagine. I don't know.
Aye.
Yeah.
Sure. Honestly, my favourite moment of this entire movie might be when Alexa wakes up here and catches her, and it's just the look in Justine's face as she's sort of like, and she's got blood all over her mouth, and she's like, that I was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
During that scene, so hard. They go to the hospital. Parents are there, and Alexia sort of backs her up and says the dog did it. Which means the dog gets put down because, as the dad points out, once an animal has a taste for human meat, it'll might try again. And I was like, now she's got a taste. She's going to want to try again. And it's funny because I think at that point I was expecting by the end of the movie to her go full cannibal, and that's what the movie was going to be about. But it never really does. Like, she never really becomes that. It's teased. She almost does it. And then when something really bad does happen and you think she's done something, with Adrian and his legs like missing a big chunk, it's actually her sister. It's Alexia who's done it. She's not killed him. It was her. And Alexia goes to prison at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because even though Justine's the focal point, you think she's going to become the like some type of killer or something, and she does some stuff that she shouldn't, but she remains in reasonable control.
I think it shows because earlier in the movie, like, Alexia jumps out in front of a car and makes the guy crash the car, and it kills the person, and she's like, oh, I'm doing this for you, and you see her lick the blood, implying that maybe she has a taste for it as well. But like, it shows that she is willing to do this, and maybe the reason why Justine gets out at the end of the movie with hope that she might be able to overcome this is because she is just naturally not as crazy as her sister. She's not as messed up. Her head's in a better place as a result.
And I don't know if you thought this too, but I got the feeling that wasn't the first time that her sister did that.
Yeah, I was kind of getting that feeling.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the movie even starts with like a random car crash. You don't really know why.
Yeah, you see the girl getting back up from the distance. You're not really sure what's going on. That's when the title comes up. Yeah. So very fascinating stuff. And once she's started eating some meat and she's like drive that way, she also gets very sexual. That's what leads to the dress moment. It leads to her getting very kind of active. There's that thing where she goes in, like, she gets covered in the blue paint. It's another one of these hazing things where they shove her in a closet with a guy. He's got yellow paint on, she's got blue paint. Don't come out until you're green. The idea they mix their bodies together and it makes green.
Yeah.
Which I actually thought this was a really disgusting scene as well. I'm all for kinky stuff, but they were kissing and the paint was going in their mouth. I don't know about this, guys. I really don't.
And then it was so gross too when he comes out with the big wound on his lip, and then and I'm just imagining like the blood mixing with the paint and the paint getting in the wound, and
yeah, no, all of it. So no, really good stuff, and like I say, so Alexia tricks Justine when she's drunk to like go after a dead body in like the school, because I imagine since it's a vet school, there's also like a medical school, like they share like a morgue kind of thing, and there's a cadaver, and she like films her like here, get it, girl, and she's like holding the guy's dead hand out, and she's going to bite it, and it makes everyone look at her like she's a freak, which leads to the big fight with them being held back with kind of makeshift leashes, which made them both look like wild animals.
It's kind of funny, in a movie with like so much cannibalism, that's kind of the most messed up part, that your own sister is, treating you like a dog, like a drunken animal in front of this room of the entire school.
Oh, she's awful. She's definitely kind of the villain of the movie. It's I mean, she's not an outright villain. She's not completely detestable, but there's so much going on with her that's wrong that it's hard to sympathize with her.
And she's really interesting too, because I still got the feeling that she loved her sister. Like, I never, thought that she, like wanted to kill her or wanted her out of her life, but it feels like she loves her, but in a really messed up way that like she doesn't know maybe how to express or something.
Yeah. Adrian as well has a very interesting thing, because obviously he ends up dying. Alexia kills him, but he has this weird thing where Justine gets very attracted to him even though he's gay, and she kind of like basically comes out and like not quite seduces him, but basically is like, yeah, let's do this, and he goes along with it, and they end up having sex, and he kind of gets freaked out because she's really sort of forceful. And then the next day, or the next couple of days, whenever it is, in class, she tries to talk to him about it, and he freaks out and says, I was in a closet for 20 years, I didn't do that so that I could start sleeping with girls now, kind of thing. And it's this very conflicting kind of a plot point, and I was wondering, like, is she like trying to like force him back into girls, kind of is that kind of like try to like compare that to her thirst for meat, and kind of like she shouldn't be going after human meat, kind of thing. Right. And it's I'm not quite sure how it parallels exactly.
I mean, maybe even like obviously that it's two very different things, but even just the fact that she's a vegetarian, like, people think is weird, and it's almost like forcing her to be like, oh, why aren't you normal? Why don't you eat meat? It's kind of like, she finally gave up being a vegetarian, you should finally give up being gay. That's kind of what it's doing with it. I can kind of see that. But even after that, they kind of get close again, because they're sleeping in the same bed when she wakes up, and he's been killed. Like, Alexia's killed him. Dear. But you get this impression that Alexia has been eating people. And it's really sick. And obviously the final scene of the movie, the final moment, we come back to the parents, and the dad starts talking about, I used to deal with this. I used to deal with things with your mother and all this stuff. And because obviously they've just visited Alexia in prison, and then he pulls open his shirt, and there's like big chunks of flesh and scars from when he's like, basically he's been feeding their mother sort of little bits at a time whenever she really needs a fix. And that's why they've kept them vegetarian growing up, is because they're trying to like dispel that urge, and like, no, you only eat vegetables, that's all you eat. And that's actually the end of the movie. Like, it just cuts to the title again at the end. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure if I needed that at the end. I'm not sure if I needed like an in-story reason for why they're like this. I think the metaphor was strong enough on its own that it just kind of worked. Yeah, like it almost feels like a punchline or something, like a little joke, to have at the end. And I don't know if it was necessarily needed. I'm not against it. I thought it was interesting, and
it doesn't ruin the movie or anything. It just it felt like we don't really need this. I feel like the movie has kind of made its point, and you're just giving me like it's almost like for people who need an answer. They're giving a direct answer, and I feel like, you kind of implied enough that I didn't really need to find out the mum's also a complete cannibal, like, not a case, and the dad's been feeding her, but whatever. It was an ending. It worked.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
And I also like to, when her sister goes to jail, like, there's also like still this kind of like sisterly bond between them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like she's not like a menacing villain that's like, like, I'll get my revenge. Like she's kind of like smiling and from behind the glass, and I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, they very much treat it like it as a sickness, almost. Like she's got this thing where she has this thirst for human blood and meat, and that's kind of all it is. She's not necessarily completely evil, but she succumbed to her urges, where her sister was mostly able to fight them, mostly. And probably will have a chance, because that's like kind of the last thing the dad says, is that hopefully you will find a solution to this problem and you'll be okay. At least he hopes. At least he hopes. So.
Now, there was another like really weird scene that really grossed me out.
Go on.
And it's not even like gory or anything, but there's a shot at one of the parties where it's kind of just like the camera's
this is the eyeball
in.
thing in
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes.
It's just a girl's just licking a guy's eyeball.
Oh my god, that's a disgusting close-up. Yeah, she's right in there licking his eyeball. How is that fun for either of those people? I don't understand this. This is a weird fetish. Actually, I really like that shot though overall, because it goes through the party, it goes through them, and it gets to Justine. This is when she's at her most animalistic, and she's sitting up with her leg up, and she's got like her hand over her leg, and she's got her legs quite wide. And do you know what it reminded me of? I feel like it's a homage, actually. Clockwork Orange. The opening to Clockwork Orange when they're in the milk bar, and it comes tracking into them, and it's like him sitting evil at the end. That's what it felt, because she has this evil smile on her face.
Okay, yeah.
It felt a lot like that shot, and I really liked it. Actually, from a stylistic point of view, I really liked that shot, actually. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. I think there was... I don't think it was that shot. Maybe one of the earlier party scenes, but I think there were some scenes like that I was like, oh, I wonder if this... like, is this just one take? It seems like pretty... impressive. Like
the party scenes were well shot, because the one early on when she's like going through and she's the one she was dragged out of bed for, like it's kind of following her, but it's kind of like drifting off and looking at other things and then comes back to her, and it's it works quite well. Anything else, Tim, you want to sort of, any scenes we've not mentioned or whatever you want to go over before we get to the infamous rating segment of the show?
There's just a few other things that, again, stuff that really makes me squirm is just like anytime you see someone biting, like really biting someone with teeth and like ripping flesh out, that's just another thing that gets me. Again, it's one of those things that's just like, this just seems a little too real,
The bite in the cheek.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when it's like weird places, like just the cheek or something. But no, there's that. There's some there's some like animal violence stuff that bummed me out a little bit. I felt bad that they put the dog down.
But you don't see, by the way. They just mention
you don't,
for the record.
Yeah. And then and it was kind of, and I don't know if that's supposed to be like if that was also a commentary that it's like, oh, these people are in vet school, they're supposed to care about animals, but they seem to be pretty flippant about it. Like, even earlier on, like Justine's talking about like, how comes everyone eats meat? And everyone's like, what are you talking about? Like, why? I don't know if that's...
Yeah, she's sitting at the table, and she actually makes some people feel awkward around her, because they talk about monkeys and how, because I talk about AIDS and how she's like, they just ate the monkey, like the whole thing about the guy having sex with the monkey is made up. And someone brings up, wait, would it be rape if a man has sex with a monkey? Like, is it the same as raping a person? And she says, well, kinda. I mean, monkey's self-aware. Look, it notices itself in the mirror. The monkey probably has lasting effects of being sexually assaulted. And then, but one of the girls gets kind of offended and says, well, are you saying there's no difference between raping a man, or raping a woman and raping a monkey? And she's like, well, yeah, kinda. And and they look at her weird, like, and obviously I get what she's saying, but saying it's the same thing, I think I get why that makes everyone else feel really uncomfortable and like, what? You're saying... Ultimately, I don't really want to meet someone who's raped either, quite frankly.
No. Of course not.
It's not like, oh, you just raped a monkey. Yeah, you come over for dinner. Yeah, we'll have you over to the house. Yeah, we'll sit down, we'll have some beverages, we'll interact, we'll catch up. No, I don't want you I don't want you near me. Go away.
But yeah, I was just curious. I wonder, like, I didn't think about it too much, but I wonder if there maybe is a message you can kind of take from that of, someone, who's being very hopeful and optimistic, and that when they get out in the, in college or, kind of the real world or whatever, how your dreams can kind of get dashed. Yeah. You can see the dichotomy between these people that are supposed to care about this thing, but in reality, they, are not.
That's why I'd argue it's kind of a coming of age movie in a really twisted way. Like there's kind of elements of that there. I think maybe there's even elements of hypocrisy in there. Like you care about animals but you eat them, which I think is fine. Like most people eat meat, it's fine. But yeah, I think that's it. Ratings, Timbo. Ratings.
So, I know we just talked about this with the last movie we did too, but this one I was also kind of flipping between 7.5 and an 8, but I think, like, maybe movie wise I was thinking 7.5, but when I think about it, like the metaphors and stuff in it, like, really kind of keep you thinking. And I was thinking about it quite a bit today, so I think I'm gonna bump it up to an 8 just for the just kind of the thought provokingness of it.
That's fair. I'm gonna go. I'm tempted to also go for an 8 or 7.5. I think I'll land on the 8 with you.
Okay.
Because, as we say, there's a lot in it. There's a lot of actual themes. There's messaging in there. It feels like a movie that was made with like an intention of art. It does have some really disgusting, creepy moments. It does have some funny, dark, humorous moments. But it has something to say, which is really appreciated. I think the lead actress is very good. I think she's very believable. She's very natural. What's her name? Garance Marillier. French name. Stupid. I'm kidding, guys. But I think she's very, very good, actually. And there's a very sort of awkward relatability to her that I think really helps the movie, because you feel like you're kind of along the journey with her. So, no, 8 out of 10. If I was going to make complaints, though, I would say that maybe mixing all these genres doesn't maybe work to the bit, because I think the first half of the movie almost doesn't, like, you'd be forgiven for thinking it's not even going to turn into like a horror type movie or anything like that, or even something that's got horror themes, and yeah, so I think that's a criticism, and maybe I do think the last scene is unnecessary, and it's there for people who don't want to think about it too much. So I think that's a shame. But 8 out of 10. Nah, I liked it. It was good.
Yeah. And out of curiosity, I don't know if you know at the top of your head, but have we done a French movie before?
A French movie?
Yeah. I know I've seen, like, I've definitely seen French horror films before, but I'm trying to think if we ever specifically did one on the show.
I don't think so, but we've done a fair amount of Asian movies.
Yeah.
Done some Italian, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Done one or two German, I think. I don't know if maybe one or two Spanish. I don't know if we've done French. French.
We've done like some. Yeah, I think we've done like some random like Swedish and like Norway movies or something, but
Norwegian is the
Norwegian
you're looking
for. But yeah, I was trying to think, like, I don't think we've done any French ones yet.
Yeah, maybe you're right. This might be the first one. So there you go. We're expanding our horizons into the world of croissants. Croissants and snails and baguettes, yes. And little mustaches and... Oui. No. I'm sorry, I'm just doing a bad impression of a French person there.
Chocolat.
That was like that scene from Inglourious Basterds where Brad Pitt says arrivederci, like in a thick. It's like arrivederci.
Yeah.
That's what that was, right? They didn't even try to put on an accent. You just said chocolat.
Oh no, I was just talking. I just wanted to let you know about my favorite Johnny Depp movie.
Oh, I'd forgotten that existed until that exact moment, Tim.
You're welcome.
I feel like any other country, I will go out of my way to, not make fun of them. I don't want to alienate anyone. I want everyone to feel welcome. But for some reason, when it comes to France and the French, I don't mind poking a few jokes at, you know.
I mean, I feel like they're so cool that, you know, like you don't want to make fun of, like, you know, the little guy, the nerdy guy, but, you know, you can punch up a little bit. You can make fun of the cool people. They can take it.
Yeah, that's why people make fun of French people, because they're too cool. That's the reason.
They are, right? You know, smoking their cigarettes and their, you know, art.
The art. I'm sorry, France. I'm sorry.
We love you.
Oh dear. That has been Raw. Monday Night Raw. Did you watch it on Monday? I did not watch it on Monday. I watched it on a Tuesday. But there we go. That's Raw. Let us know what you think of the movie. If you've seen it, in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff helps us out a lot. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. Get some of the bonuses. There'll probably be not enough time for the Patreon vote for the end of June by this point. This might actually be dipping into the start of July. So too late for that, but there'll be a new vote up in July for the month of August, so you can check out that on patreon.com if you want to sign up and support us. But otherwise, guys, that is us, so thank you very much for watching. Once again, keep watching scary movies. We'll see you next time. I don't have a final thing to say, Tim.
I was trying to think of how to say goodbye in French. Like, bon...
Au revoir, Tim. Jesus. You were going to say bonjour. Bonjour's hello, you silly tit.
No, I was going to say bon nuit.